Pro Evolution Soccer 5.
Hello there, and welcome to the first episode of what I presume I will be calling NaitchPlays Pro Evo 5, or something very similar. This is the first episode, so I'll be just mostly going through setup for this episode, because I haven't actually decided which team I would like to play as. I will be doing a season in the Premier League, and rather than picking one for myself, one of the teams, I decided that I will let you guys pick who I actually play as for the season. As you can see, I'm just going through a few tests with this game here. You've got PES United versus Winning 11 United. I should point out, actually, this audio is recorded after this game has been played, because I have a lot of information to go through, and I didn't expect that I would be able to get through it all while I was playing. So this first game is just to test out the difficulty and the timings, because I don't want the series as a whole to be too easy or too difficult. So this is the 5-minute game on, or 5-minute halves, I'm not sure actually, you'd have seen it earlier. 5 minutes on 2 stars, and this is just me realising that I had set up the controls incorrectly. Well, they are set up correctly for Pro Evo, but I would prefer to have them as the FIFA ones, so don't judge me on that. And the game after this will be with twice the match length and a 3-star difficulty, so hopefully after this I will know which one I would like to go with. If the season mode allows me, I might actually change the star difficulties based on who my opponents are. But we're here today to decide which of the teams on Pro Evo 5 I will be playing as. I've done a little bit of research on the teams, and I'm going to give you guys the information to hopefully make that decision for me, so I don't have to. Right, that's just a vicious foul given away by myself there. I was very much still learning the controls at this point using a keyboard. It's quite difficult. Anyway, so we'll be going through these teams based on their real-life final positions in the 2004-2005 season, which was the season before this game came out. So we start off with the winners, my personal favourite team, Chelsea. And they are not unique in this game, but one of two of the teams. Funnily enough, the other team finished second, so they will be straight after this. They are both licensed, which means they have the real kits and their real logos. I'm sure some of you will remember that in its early days, Pro Evo was famous for being unlicensed, allowing for editing of the team names and their kits, which was fantastic. But there are two here. Oh, what a goal. I've forgotten some of the goals that I score in these two games. Some of them are quite surprising. I will leave it at that. I won't provide any spoilers. Anyway, back to the teams that I could be playing as. So Chelsea will be licensed, and one thing I will actually say is, would you guys like me to change the names of the teams from their Pro Evo styles? We'll get to some of those later. Or shall I leave them in? And then, of course, I could make the kits look a little more interesting, but that would probably be more effort than it's worth. I suppose I could do it for the team that you guys choose for me, but we'll see who you choose first. So with Chelsea, their key players are Frank Lampard in his prime in the centre of midfield, Joe Cole a little bit further ahead. He could be played in between the midfielders and the strikers, or I suppose he could go out on the wing. And then there's the club captain, John Terry, as the rock in the centre of their defence. Team number 2, who are also licensed, are Arsenal. Now this is the season that they were in those strange kits. I can't quite describe the colour, but not the ones where they were wearing their traditional red shirts with white sleeves. It was those almost maroon shirts and socks with white shorts. I can't actually remember why they chose to wear those for one season, unless it was perhaps to commemorate the final season at Highbury, I'm not sure. But they're key players. There's some good names in here. We have Thierry Henry in the striker position. I'm sure if I were to play as them, we'd be scoring lots of goals. We have Ashley Cole, who was yet to make his move over to Chelsea as the first choice left back for Arsenal. And then finally we have another defender. It's Sol Campbell, getting towards his twilight years, but definitely still a key player for Arsenal. Okay. And then we go on to the fictionally named teams. We have Man Red, which is Manchester United. And their key players are, again, very much in his prime, Rio Ferdinand as a central defender. And we have Ruud van Nistelrooy, who was one of the top strikers in the Premier League of the early 2000s. And we have a young Wayne Rooney, who could be deployed as Van Nistelrooy's partner in the forward pair, I suppose. Would be most likely to do a 2 up front, or he could indeed be played in an attacking midfield role, as he eventually became a bit more acclimatised to in real life. Next up, we have the 2 Merseyside teams. They're not in the order that you would expect them to be if you were looking back at it now, as we are. We actually have Merseyside Blue in the 4th slot, which is Everton. Their key players are James Beattie as a striker. Not sure he was as good as people thought he was at the time. Very much overrated to be one of the key players for Everton here. We also have Simon Davies, who's one of the players in this list that I'm not as familiar with, but apparently he is a side midfielder. I'm not sure if that would put him on the left or the right. And then we finally have Joseph Yobo as a centre-back, someone who I am familiar with. Quickly moving on, we've got Merseyside Red, which is, no surprises for the guests, Liverpool. And their star players are Steven Gerrard, again, prime Steven Gerrard in the centre of midfield. Jerzy Dudek is their goalkeeper, who's apparently one of their best players. Not sure that's a good sign. And finally, we have Djibril Cissé, who was at Liverpool for a couple of years as a striker. That's an interesting trio of key players there. Not something you'd expect to have as much impact as you'd like, but if you guys choose Liverpool, then we'll have a look in more detail at the rest of the team. We'll have a look at the team, whoever you choose, to be quite honest, because only knowing 3 players before we go into it's probably not the best way for me to provide commentary. We'll move on as Agata scores his hat-trick there in the game. So we have Middlebrook, which is a less obvious one. That's actually Bolton Wanderers, who finished 6th in this 04-05 season in real life. As we all know, they are now struggling in League One and very close to administration earlier this season. Hopefully that's something that they can rectify and survive as a club. But here we have the opportunity to guide them as one of the stronger teams in the Premier League, apparently. With their key players, we have El Hadji Diouf as a second striker rather than a centre forward. But he is apparently their best player. Was quite well known for his attitude problems in real life, if I recall correctly. We also have JJ Okocha as an attacking midfielder. And we have Hidetoshi Nakata as another attacking midfielder. So quite a few attacking options for Bolton there. Next up we have Teesside, which is Middlesbrough. Their key player is Mark Viduka, the striker, followed by Mark Schwarzer, the goalkeeper, both Australians there, funnily enough. And third best player is another striker, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, towards the end of his playing career there at Middlesbrough. In 8th we have the current Premier League champions, well before they had any chance of coming anywhere near the top 4 realistically. This is several years before they had their financial backing. So their key players here are the striker Andy Cole, the side back, I think he was a right back, Danny Mills, and centre back, another defender, Sylvain Distin. So it could be interesting to play as Manchester City, or Man Blue as their Pro Evo name, before they have their money. So we can see the first game has ended here, the 5-minute one, where I quite decisively won 4-0 on 2 stars. So to follow that up, we're going to have a quick look with the same 2 teams. I briefly considered swapping teams, but decided that it would be a better representation to go with the same sides. But this one is on 3 stars, so let's see how I do. Back to the Premier League teams, we have North East London, which is Tottenham Hotspurs, and their key player is Edgar Davids in central midfield. I'm pretty sure Davids was past his prime here, but to be a key player, his stats can't be bad. This is based on the actual in-game stats, so I guess ultimately that is more important than anything in real life, which is just as well because their second best player is former England goalkeeper Paul Robinson. So hopefully he wouldn't be as clumsy as he was towards the end of his England career, shall we say. And the third best player for Spurs is, I think he's Moroccan, is Noureddine, forgive me if I say this surname wrong, Nebe, as a centre-back. So no strikers there for Spurs, which isn't a good sign, but at least in real life they have Harry Kane now. Next we have West Midlands Village, which is Aston Villa, and their top player is a side back, which is Ulysses de la Cruz. Number 2 for them is Danish goalkeeper Thomas Sorensen, and their third best player is a side midfielder Nobby Solano. So again, no attacking options there, but I'm sure they have a couple that could potentially be top goal scorers if we were to choose Aston Villa. Next up we have South East London Reds, which is Charlton Athletic, another team who I think are currently playing in League One rather than the lofty heights of the Premier League they had here. Their key player is a wide forward, Dennis Rommedahl. I believe he's Danish as well, so we've got quite a few Danes as the key players through some of these teams. Number 2 is Danny Murphy as a central midfielder, and third place we have another goalkeeper, which is Dean Keeley. Back to a West Midlands city, we have Birmingham, and their key players are all English. I think that's the first time that's actually happened since we looked at Chelsea all the way at the top. But their key players are side midfielder David Dunn, centre forward Emil Heskey, possibly not in his prime as he was at Liverpool when he was a regular England starter, but still one of Birmingham's best players, so he can't be all that bad. And we have another former England international who must be well past his prime by the time this game came out, which is centre midfielder Darren Anderton. Not a player I'm overly familiar with, but some decent English names in there. Could be an interesting team to play as, Birmingham. In 13th place from the previous season we have West London White, which is Fulham, and they've got some good attacking options as their key players. We have Thomas Rudzinski as second striker. I suppose second striker could be played as a false 9 if we don't have any other options for the front man, because in second place we have Louis Boa-Morte as a wide forward, so he would presumably be played out on the flank. And then we have Steed Malbranc, the Frenchman, as an attacking midfielder. So again, potentially another interesting team to play as. Then we have Tyneside, which is Newcastle, finishing 14th, so I think this is probably from the start of their decline, from their dominance but not quite capturing the title of the late 90s and the early 2000s. Their top player is Michael Owen, returned from Real Madrid, so I would imagine he would end up being one of their top goal scorers, one of our top goal scorers if we end up playing as Newcastle. Second key player is side back Stephen Carr, and in third place we have Shay Given as the goalkeeper. Oh, that looked like it had gone in. I recall that. I actually thought it had been a goal, just going back to the game here, and wasn't given, unfortunately, but it looks pretty good, didn't it? Anyway, back to the teams, which is why we're here. We have Lancashire, which is Blackburn Rovers, and their key player, possibly not a good thing, is goalkeeper Brad Friedel. Their second best player is a side midfielder. I have it written down as D. Thompson. I've got no idea what the D stands for, so your guess is as good as mine. I don't know why I haven't written a full name there. And their third best player is defensive midfielder Tugai. Now let's go back to the game here, because I think this actually gets a bit interesting. The free kick wasn't great, and as you can see there, I had an inadvertent offside call after a rather rubbish shot. But as you can see, one of the cheekiest goals you could possibly ever score. That's the kind of goal I used to score on FIFA against one of my friends who I would always beat 6 or 7-0, he would always fall for that. Just stand in front of the defender, goalkeeper passes it to him, you intercept, and just have an easy shot at goal. It's not something I was expecting to happen here. It was a force of habit thing more than anything else, but it allowed me to double my lead, and I wasn't expecting much from this 3-star game, but having scored 2 goals made me a lot more confident in my abilities than I had been previously. So I still haven't actually decided which star rating to play the game on, but hopefully this game was an indication that I don't need to play it on 2 stars. Whether I play it on 3 stars at 5 minutes or 10 minutes as this game was, or even consider trying 4 stars and see how I do. Hopefully that will be a decision I can make once we've chosen a team. So we'll get back to that. Where were we? Right, we have Pompey, which is a fairly obvious one. That's Portsmouth. And their key player is side midfielder Laurent Robert. This is where things start getting a bit disappointing for Portsmouth, because their second best player is Sander Vestveld, the former Liverpool goalkeeper, and their third best player is Kostas Chalkias. I've not heard of him, but if that name rings a bell, he is also a goalkeeper. So 2 of Portsmouth's 3 best players on this game are goalkeepers, which does not paint them in a strong light, personally. Moving quickly on, we have the final team who had survived from the previous season. We have West Midland Stripes, which is West Brom. Their top player is another one I'm not that familiar with. His name is Diamansi Kamara, who is a second striker. Second best player is one-time England international and another former Liverpool goalkeeper, Chris Kirkland. And then we have their third best player, who's another player I haven't written the first name of. We just have the mysterious letter D again. But D Moore is a centre-back. So please let me know if you know his first name. Now we're on to the final 3 teams who were playing in, I would presume, the Championship, possibly the first time the English Second Division was called the Championship. We have the winners, which is Wearside, Sunderland, who's another team that are now in League One. They aren't the last current League One team that we will be going through here. We have side-back Julio Arca, goalkeeper Mart Poom, and centre-back, and I think a former Everton player in Alan Stubbs. So 1 goalkeeper and 2 defenders, not the best sign for Sunderland there. And it's followed up by a Lancashire Athletic, which is Wigan, the other team which are currently playing in League One. I think that's 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 or 5, at least 3 teams in here who are currently in League One. But Wigan's top players, we have Pascal Chimbonda, the side back, another former Liverpool player. We've had quite a few of those throughout these key player lists. Centre back Stéphane Henshaw, and another centre back whose name I haven't included for no obvious reason. It doesn't begin with a D. It might begin with a D, I don't know. I haven't written a letter at all, but his surname begins with a D. It's Dezou. So all 3 players whose first names I forgot to write down have their name begin with a D. Got no idea what that means, but obviously oversights were made. And on to the final team in the Premier League for the season we will be playing as, and that is East London, which is West Ham. So their top player is a wing-back. It's, I think, the first wing-back we've actually seen in any of these key player lists. That's Paul Konchesky. Second place, we have the ancient, by this point, Teddy Sheringham as a centre forward. Those of you who watch the UK version of The Masked Singer will have seen that he was recently unmasked as the Tree. Hopefully, despite being 100 years old in this game, he will be moving faster than a tree. We will find out if we play as West Ham, or when we play them. If we aren't. Their final third key player is the goalkeeper Shaka Hislop. So, that's all of the teams that we can choose from, and a selection of their key players. I don't know if I have any personal preferences who I would like to play as. I have an obvious bias towards Chelsea, but equally I would quite like to potentially play as a team who don't have a licensed kit, and possibly design it myself. I don't know whether I would choose to try and replicate the real life kit, or kits if I do the entire league from this season, or try and create something custom inspired by their real life kits, of course. But again, we will have a look at that when we've actually chosen a team. So if there's anyone in there, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United, Everton, Liverpool, Bolton, Middlesbrough, Man City, Spurs, Aston Villa, Charlton, Birmingham, Fulham, Newcastle, Blackburn, Portsmouth, West Brom, Sunderland, Wigan, West Ham. Any of those teams that you think deserve to be played as, or possibly to make my life more difficult by choosing one of the weaker ones, please leave a comment. Let me know who you'd like me to play as, and I suppose if any team actually gets the most comments, then I should play as them in the interest of democracy. But if we have a tie, then we'll see. We'll see who I play as. Right, so we still have a few minutes left in this game. It's surprisingly 3-0 at this point, and I haven't conceded in either of the games. So hopefully that's a good sign for the series ahead. I was desperately trying not to concede a goal at this point as well, with a bit of a defensive scramble there. I don't think much interesting happens through the rest of the game, not that there's much long left. And it goes without saying, guys, if you could leave a like on this video, or subscribe to my new YouTube channel, then please do. This will hopefully be the first of many episodes in the NaitchPlays PES5 series. That's the end of the game there, with a comfortable 3-0 victory on a 3-star difficulty, which leaves me with about a minute left to sign off. So once again, please let me know which team you'd like me to play as. I'm not going to repeat the team names again, but feel free to check back through the video, or see which teams were available on the game, and let me know who you would like to see me play as. We'll see you next time.